I knew you were born and raised in Philadelphia. You went to the same high school as Will Smith over
I did. We had gym class together.
Oh my God! So you guys did know each other?
Yeah, we knew each other. Yeah.
Nice.
Still do, I guess.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to a special edition of the Spectrum Lounge podcast. The Spectrum Lounge is a podcast that focuses on creatives of color, disrupting the game in TV, film, and pop culture. We are joined by a very special guest, actor, producer, writer. What am I missing here?
Director.
Director.
Rabble-rouser.
Yeah. Welcome to the Spectrum Lounge, Colman. I'm so happy you're here. I'm so happy we get
Thank you, Rebecca. I'm so honored to be here with you. I feel like this meeting has been coming. Yes.
Yes. I've been a huge fan of yours. Now, I'm going to admit, I need to catch up on Fear the Walking Dead. I watched the first few episodes and I was like, oh, Coleman's on there. And then I think you guys are on your 5th season, right?
6.
On your 6th season. Well, the 6th season. That's amazing.
It's a feat for any show on television, to be honest. Yeah. You know, most shows don't go beyond 2 seasons. Mm-hmm. And I think I think it's speaking to something in our culture why the show is still very popular. Our numbers are up even more so, and people have been saying our 6th season is our best season we've had so far. So I think that there's more story to tell because, you know, the show, it's about an apocalypse and zombies and all that, but it's actually just sort of a family drama, and it's really about like people looking at their better angels and trying to come together against a common enemy. Doesn't that sound familiar?
Yes,
sounds like the pandemic. It sounds like the pandemic, but you know, because I love the whole premise. The premise is always the zombies, or what we call walkers, are actually not the problem. The problem is man.
Yes. I always said that The Walking Dead, it's not so much the walkers, it's the humans and just trying
That's exactly it. Like right now, we know it's not about COVID-19, it's actually the people dealing with it. And you know, and actually coming together against the common enemy.
Right. Well, see, now you're talking about relevance. So I want to talk to you about the new episode of Euphoria, the Euphoria special that premiered on HBO last week. And then you also have Ma Rainey's Black Bottom that's coming out. When is that? December 25th?
December 18th.
December 18th. Yes, on 18th.
December 18th.
Yeah, December 18th. Yeah. So, you know what's interesting is like I watched the Euphoria special and then I watched Ma Rainey's, and I really feel like those two, like the movie and that episode, they're in sort of a conversation with each other, and you're kind of like the glue that puts those two. Well, with Euphoria, I got to tell you, I mean, I'm a huge fan of this show. I binge watched it again this week, and I knew the special was coming up, but I was not prepared to how powerful and truthful that episode was.
Rue, you're high.
I feel like you're not listening to what I'm saying.
Rue, I don't think you're listening to what you're saying.
I feel like that's physically impossible.
To what? Talk some bullshit?
You know, that's what, like, I don't understand about the world. Because, like, there is tons of people who, you know, drink and do drugs, and sometimes their life's good. And sometimes life is bad, you know? It's fucking life. There's ups and downs to this shit. But, I mean, whether you believe me or not, I'm good.
Yeah, you said that.
Yeah. I mean, it's not like I'm doing a bunch of shit. I'm just smoking a little bit of weed and taking some pills that were prescribed to me.
My point is, it's not gonna last.
Yeah, well, neither do my moods when I'm sober.
Okay, well, you know, I'm not saying you're a paragon of mental health. You've got your issues, and you're gonna be struggling with those issues for the rest of your life. That's a fact. The problem is that you look at sobriety as a weakness in the face of those issues, and what I'm saying is, sobriety is your greatest weapon.
Yeah.
How did that come about? We know the creator of the show is Sam Levinson, who wrote and directed the special episode. What was the conversation when he reached out to you and said, "Hey, I want to do this, you know, special, you know, one-off episode after the first season"?
I literally was sitting in my office as I would do, especially in the middle of this year when we're, trying to find, I'm on conference calls asking for diversity, equity, and inclusion on the corporate level. I'm seeing what phone calls I can make and where to send money to and what fund, in Minnesota, fund, a defense fund, things like that. People are, rioting in the street, people are marching in the street, everything in the world is going on. And then I get this, I get a call from Sam and he's like, I have an episode I'm going to send you. It's just centered on you and on Ali and Rue. Mm-hmm. And knowing Sam's mind and knowing the show, I just thought, oh, it's going to go all over the place. It's going to be sort of like, an addict's fantasia or something like that. You never know what to expect with an episode like that.
Yeah.
And then when I got it and saw how quiet it was and how it was really about these ideas and these this very beautiful conversation that lasted 50 minutes, I was floored. I actually cried, to be honest. I'm a very sensitive guy. But I do know why I cried. I think it cried because it spoke to everything in my heart. And I think as an artist, you're always looking, I'm at home creating all the time. I'm creating shows, I'm creating content. And I thought, oh, this is something I can do as an actor. This is something I can do to be a part of the conversation. Right. And this was given to me by Sam and said, here it is. I created these words for you that only you, Colman, can say. He created Ali for me. Because, I think he knows when we get into conversations, we can talk for hours. We talk about everything. We talk about race. We talk about life. We talk about care. We laugh a lot. We talk about science and art and technology. Our conversations go everywhere. So he knows what's in my mind and in my heart. And so then I received this gift, and that's where I looked at it. Like, this was a gift.
Right.
And then immediately I put myself in my own rehearsal for 3 weeks.
Oh,
because I knew it was required. I thought, oh, I can't attack this language the way I would do with any other television script. I have to truly embody all of it and let it be in my spirit, so it just comes out like breath. I didn't want anyone to see the work. I wanted to do all that work. So I rehearsed 40 hours a week at home on my own. Yeah, because I knew that was required. It's like, you can't do something like that. That's like rehearsing a play. You can't just show up on the day with that text. You got to, it has to be lived in. Yeah. Just like Ali, just like the character of Ali. I know that I want him to look lived in. It's funny because Sam, he saw me in a Zoom. He was like, Colman, what happened to you? You look too young. It looks like you're going to be looking like you and Z will be dating. I was like, no. I said, Sam, don't worry about it. That's me just eating healthy and staying out of the sun and getting myself together during this pandemic. I said, I'll get there. I'll look like Ali again. Because I know.
You look too good. That was the complaint.
Yeah, what a beautiful compliment. You look too good. Well, you need to break yourself down a little bit. I'm like, because I'm a character actor, and I think that people are recognizing is that I make decisions about everything. I make a decision about how he speaks, how he holds his body, how he smokes, how he uses his hands. All that stuff I layer into a character to make sure and to make it a fully realized character. And then I don't want you to see the work. Right. You know what I mean? I know that my body, my voice, the way I move through space is different with Ali than it is with Cutler and my decisions to be made about time and time frame and period and life experience and all that stuff. So, okay, I'm getting ahead of myself. But basically, what I saw in that script of Euphoria, I knew it would be impactful, and it was actually a script that I feel like will change lives. I know it changes lives. The conversation that Rue and Ali had. I know that was the intention behind it, was to see two characters sitting, having a tough conversation. And that's what we've all been asking people to do, is sit across from each other and be honest, be real. Go to those places, to that really trepidatious territory, and to have hope that you'll come out of it, you know?
Right.
So I think that's what Sam's concerned about. And that's my comrade. That's my brother. We march arm in arm together.
Yeah. It really felt like the conversation that Ali and Rue were having with each other is really a conversation that we should be having with each other as a country. Like it felt like Sam had a lot to say. Like he was like, okay, here's my thoughts on 2020.
Yes. And also I felt like that's the way my intention was to deliver it to America. The intention was, yeah, I'm sitting here across from this young woman, but my you is a very broad you. When I say you, when I say you're sick and you're making yourself sick by digesting the same toxins or the same poison that got you sick in the first place. Yeah, I'm sitting across and talking to Rue, but I'm talking to everyone listening.
Right.
Examine everything. He's saying, examine everything, look deeper. Don't just settle for the surface. Don't just settle for somebody because you're arguing because you want people to say Black Lives Matter. Don't settle for that. Go deeper. Go deeper to the systemic root of things. He's saying, don't just settle. Go deeper, because that's the way we'll actually reach out to each other's humanity, and that's the way we can move the dial and make each other better and make this country better. So I think he's speaking to all of us.
Yeah, yeah. Especially the part where Ali talks about redemption, and just how we can be so hard on other people where they're just like, well, you're not going to forgive me anyway. So what's the point of me becoming better? And it was funny that I was thinking about that yesterday when the new episode of Red Table Talk came out, and Jada Pinkett Smith invited Olivia Jade, who is Lori Loughlin's daughter. She had been convicted of, some school admission scams, and people were angry. I admit I was too. And I was like, why are you even talking to this girl? Why do you? But then I thought about that episode and what Ali said. It's like, if we want her to be a better person, like, at what point do we start to give people the space to make themselves better or to do the work?
Well, the thing about, I think, our culture and what has happened, and I think what Ali is saying is that we have dehumanized the human experience. We've done that.
Yeah.
We live in a cancel culture, saying that you're beyond redemption, and that's actually not human.
Right.
To understand, I always grew up with the thought that, the God in me is, you also have that God in you. Everyone has the power to turn themselves around and find the light, find the truth. They're just unpacking their own shit, to be honest. And dealing with you know what I mean? But you got to hold space for that. But also you got to do that with people in your life. I know that I had that with my own father before he passed away. And my natural father was not very much of a father to me. He gave me a name, which is wonderful. I have his name, but he didn't give me much more. But I remember I wrote a note to him, because I think that's the way my mother raised me, is that I wanted to make sure that he knew that I didn't hold anything against him, his lack of being a father in my life. I wanted him to understand that I knew he was just a man, and he was on his journey. And that I wanted to, before he passed away, to have some peace in his heart about that, and know that I love him. I wouldn't say that I loved him, but I held space for him in my heart. We just didn't have that relationship. And but I think that's redemption, because you would want that for yourself. What would you like done for yourself if you've done some wrong? And I feel like people just can't be pariahs in our society. And I think that's what Sam's experiences too. I always feel that way. I feel that everyone has an opportunity to come back and to do good. Why do I believe that? Because I hope that people believe that in me and have that faith in me. That's what Ali says when he reaches his hand across, and is having faith. It's about having faith in one another. James Baldwin talks about that in this incredibly searing essay called Nothing Personal. He says, when we break faith with one another, the sea enfolds us and the lights go out.
Right.
When we break faith with one another, and that's what's happened in America, that we have broken faith in one another. We think it's either them or us, and no one has faith in the other. And I think Sam's saying, just look at it, examine that.
Right.
Examine who has set up that narrative, who's gaining power because of it, So he's just saying, examine all of it, look at it, look at what you've been fed. We've all, and I feel, like I read a lot. I always go back in the history. I'm looking at art and science and technology, you name it. Because also I think it's important for us to know ourselves.
Yeah.
And Sam's just saying, you need to know yourself, young one. That's why Ali is just dropping knowledge and dimes. Saying, yo, I've been through some stuff, so I'm going to drop this on you because you don't know shit. He's saying you don't know shit. And that you don't know shit is not only to Rue, he's saying it to anyone watching. You don't know shit. You don't know anything about you. You don't know anything about why drugs were given to keep your ancestors inebriated, inoculated, enslaved. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You don't even know that. You just doing it, and you don't even know why we have the opportunity to sit in this diner. It's because of people who took knocks for it so you can get here. To look at history. Don't look at just yourself. We're such a selfish society. We're thinking it only happened because we're in the world and we're the first person to experience something. You know, I'm always thinking, listen, I'm just going to start talking because listen, I just think that like people always think, you know, I think especially even in the moment, you know, in the pandemic and riots and marching and stuff like that. And I'm like, yo, we just got to get up every day and do something. You got to get up every day and do something because you know what? Other people did it. Right. You ain't special. Yeah, this is hard times, but there have been hard times, especially for Black people in America. This ain't a first. Your mother went through something. Your grandparents went through something. And the whole reason why you're here is because someone took the knocks to make sure you're alive. Come on, Jesus. Someone else had to love hard, laugh hard, make space to make sure that you're here. So you can't just be like, oh, I don't want to do it. No, you better get out and do it and do something every single day because that's your responsibility. Right. And now you know that you can't sit and be silent because silence is complicity. And I think again, it goes back to what Sam's trying to say. I told you that's why Sam wrote Ali for me. I got a lot to say. Colman has a lot to say.
Oh yes, I love that line where Ali said, "The revolution has no allies." Like I had to hit pause to really sit with that, right? And because it's true, it's like you can go out and do all of the activism or whatever, but if you're not right within yourself, it's like what are you doing? Yeah. And we've seen this in history too, where we've had activists where things came out about their either sexual assaults or whatever, people that we thought, you know, were our revolutionary leaders, and it was like, oh no, like the actions weren't matching, you know, their personal moral arc. So it was like, yeah.
Well, I think it's funny because I think that's why maybe that resonated to you and it resonated to me in the sense of feeling that I've never been a part of any real club because I think it's important to just I always think that I do my work of an activist. I do it in my writing and directing and things, and I do the personal things. I'm not the big I'm not a part of the group doing anything. I've been a part of a couple committees and things lately because I thought it was important and impactful. But then I had to really examine the people who've just been doing it and taking the knocks on their own. You know, I have a comrade who was always, you know, fighting the system and out there, and she was out there alone. She'd been doing it alone for years and challenging theaters when it comes to systemic racism. And she's been willing to take some knocks, possibly not get work, you name it. But she was so assured in her convictions. But she was out there on a limb by herself. And let me tell you something, she penned, I won't tell you who it is, but she penned a letter to the American theater and part of the committees that were asking for diversity, equity, and inclusion. And it floored me because let me tell you something, she was right. She was right. She was like, oh, so now y'all, you out there coming together. And I feel like I feel a part of that part, you know, of the individual. I feel that even more so in my work.
Right. So let's talk about Ma Rainey's Black Bottom because I actually had not seen the play. So I was coming in with fresh eyes. I was like, okay, this is a great cast. I know Ma Rainey, okay. And I was floored by the conversations that were going on, you know, just the scene with the musicians and Ma Rainey, and just it was crazy to me like how these things are still relevant to today, you know, just the idea of artists, Black artists trying to keep their autonomy, trying to keep their art, just the conversations between your character with Cutler and Levy and Toledo talking about Blackness and respectability, and it was just like, wow. Well, I know you've done you're not, this wasn't your first time doing August Wilson's work, right? Correct?
No, it's not. I first did an August Wilson play in about 1998 at a theater company called Theodore-Works in California, where I played Gabriel in Fences. And then recently, I think maybe 4 years ago, I directed a production of Seven Guitars at Actors Theater of Louisville. And doing an August Wilson piece will take everything you got. You got to bring everything. You got to bring in your history, your family, your skill set has to be so fine-tuned, because it's requiring you to be a part of an ensemble and tell such you have such a responsibility when it comes to language, and it's colloquial and it's intelligent, it's academic, and then it's spiritual, and it's just the way Black folks speak when white people are in the room. And so it's a tremendous responsibility. Usually there are some great keepers or sort of gatekeepers of August Wilson's work, and once you are sort of a gatekeeper, you're sort of vetted as a Wilsonian. And I like to say that I'm one of the Wilsonians because you have such a respect for the work and what the work is. August Wilson is our Black Shakespeare. He is our O'Neill. He is our Pinter. You know, So he is a classical writer because he does the most in-depth examination of African American life in the 20th century, in his 20th century cycle.
Right. And, with the conversations that Cutler, Toledo, and Levy were having, what occurred to me was that, and I think this is relevant today, is that each of them, and I think all of the characters really, were each coming in with their respective traumas, each of their respective baggage, and they were hearing but they weren't listening to each other at all.
You just broke down the whole thesis of the play. That's exactly it. Because everyone was coming in with their own pressure cooker, and you didn't know if it was set on 1 or 10.
Right.
And all you needed to do was step on that shoe, and you will know where that person was, and it would just all come pouring out. That's basically having an examination. Like, do you understand what Black people are walking around with?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Do you know, just to get from point A to point B, what we're actually walking around with? And if we have to really confront that, or if someone holds space for it, which I think is such a beautiful thing that August Wilson does, he allows characters to speak on it and say, this is my truth. And the other actors are there to hold space for it when they're delivering a monologue and a truth. Because that trauma that they reveal, it lets you know that you feel closer to the other person, because you're like, I have trauma too. It may not be that, but I have my trauma too.
Yeah, because it seemed that when Levy walked into the room, he was probably like an 8 on the pressure cooker. He was already coming in hot.
His need was so clear. He came in after looking at the shoes. He was trying to make his mark from jump. As a young Black man and a pioneer and trying to be innovative, he was like, I'm gonna move the needle like this. And then you're dealing with these other brothers who are like, yo, just wait, calm that down. Maybe tomorrow. Not right now. There are different systems in place here. And not to say that he wasn't respected for that, but he wasn't everyone had their own operating system of that day. And I know Cutler, he was just trying to, he is Ma's proxy when she's not in the room. He is one of the members of the band, and he's also the first face that the systemic white institutions see when they enter a room. So he's got his own balancing act, he's not just thinking about being innovative as a musician. He's like, I'm just trying to hold this all together, and take care of you and be the caregiver of your talent as well, and find a place for you in the world. And then they come to blows because the ideology is just, it's not sitting right that day.
Right. And it's funny because that whole scene where you stepped on my shoes, I was talking to a friend of mine, because we both grew up in Brooklyn. And I was like, oh, this feels familiar. I like the older guys, Black guys, they would come out with their fresh kicks, and then God forbid it.
Don't you step on my new Adidas?
Yes.
You step on my new Adidas, you get a whole ass whooping, right?
I thought so.
I can feel it. You don't step on anybody's sneakers. And that was a thing too. Remember you're a teenager, well, I don't know, you're younger than I am, but when you're a teenager and you got some really, really white sneakers, some dudes would try to mess with you and almost try to step on them. And you're like, no, because your sneakers are part of your identity. That's part of who you are. It shows up, it tells about your style, about how much you could, about how much it took to probably even buy those sneakers. Who sacrificed for that? So there's so much put on it. So that's why I love that August Wilson zero in on that and the idea of stepping in a Black man's shoes.
Yeah. I mean, I
remember trauma.
My older brother, he used to carry a toothbrush in the back of his.
Did we have the same older brother? That was mine too.
Don't step on my shoes. I was like, all right.
Keep it clean, keep it clean.
Yeah, but really, the shoes are really, at least for me, at least in Margaret, the shoes for Levy were really about, like you said, what you said, and really about his worth as a person. And then by the end of the movie, all of these things happen, and it's like he feels disrespected.
Yeah.
All right, I do have a question for you. Why do you think at the end of the movie, I mean, technically he could have gone for anybody. Why do you think he went for Toledo and not Cutler? Because Cutler and he were really.
Well, I think they almost had it. They almost did it.
Mm-hmm.
But I think what's significant is that it happened. So that was the Cutler and Levy blow up was already building and building and building, and you felt like it could happen. You knew that could happen.
Yeah.
But the biggest shock is when it suddenly happens out of nowhere.
Yes.
I think that's even more jarring, that you knew what Levy was capable of. You just didn't know when it would happen.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, you know, I forget who it was. It was a Black psychologist who wrote something about Blacks in America suffering from like a perpetual PTSD. And that's what I kind of got from watching that. But last question. Actually, I did want to ask you about this because I knew you were born and raised in Philadelphia. You went to the same high school as Will Smith, Overburn.
I did. We had gym class together.
Oh my God! So you guys did know each other.
Yeah, we knew each other. Yeah.
Nice.
Still do, I guess. I guess we still do know each other. We did. Now we do. Right. It's funny that he had one class. He was the class above me, but we shared gym class, and his girlfriend at the time was my best friend, and so I knew him, but I knew him as Will, and I knew he would. You know, I was a nerd, so I didn't really hang out with the cool kids, and so they would go and perform at the Wynn Ballroom, and you know, rap and all that stuff, and you know, but I wasn't part of that group. Yeah. And then I just watched him just soar in this industry, and I couldn't be happier.
Something is in the water in Philly. I need to go over there because there's too much talent coming out of there.
Come on, Philly be repping some artists. Come on, Philly soul. You know, Philly be repping some artists. But
they do.
The common thing that I think Philadelphia artists have is what you see is what you get. I don't think we know how to put on airs. It's just as real as possible, and I think that's what hopefully keeps us in the game.
Yes. Well, thank you so much, Colman. You are actually my first video interview. My podcasts are usually audio, but I was like, Colman is too handsome. I can't put him behind. No, I got to put him on camera.
Thank you so much. You're so beautiful. Thank you, my beautiful friend. You're my friend now too. I know who Femme Fatale is now. Yeah. You take great care.
You too. Have a great day. Bye-bye.
You too. Bye-bye.